No one knows what the future holds, but if a new house is in your future, I can help from a safe distance. I'm Nick Acosta, your downtown expert, and I'm hosting safe and sanitary open houses. Nothing is different except for temperature checks at the door and masks are required. But it still smells like there are fresh baked cookies in the oven. So come on by one of my safe and sanitary open houses, and I'll say welcome home from 6 feet away.
This is Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast with your host, Nicholas Acosta. Nick sits down with guests to talk about real estate and how it works. Reach him at downtown.expert on Facebook and Instagram, or his website, www.downtown.expert, or call or text him at 407-508-8809. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. This is Nicholas Acosta, your host of the podcast Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast, joining you today from downtown St. Petersburg, Florida. As always, I've got Blanchard Insurance. Mike decided let me add him into the there you go, Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, great, Nick. How are you doing this happy Good Friday?
Oh, no. Yeah, it's an awesome Good Friday, and that's right. Easter's this weekend, too. So.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that the other day. I had something work related like planned for and everybody else did for Sunday, and then we all sat around and we're kind of like, yeah, we've kind of forgot, it was Easter on this Sunday. And for some reason, I thought it was more into April. Everybody was like, well, it's in April. Well, I'm thinking, well, this week's March and still March. So I wasn't really thinking clearly. So we had to do a lot of rescheduling, for this weekend. Just kind of snuck up on us this year. And, after COVID, it's, these holidays, it's kind of like you really didn't have much of an Easter last year. So it's kind of become a foreign thing now. So it's kind of like you're trying to remember these holidays, right now,
right,
and come in order for the rest of the year.
Oh, no, I completely agree. Well, I know we're busy, like the real estate market is doing really well and busy. So it's keeping you guys over at Blanchard busy. And then me over here in St. Pete, we just got the condo officially is sold in Orlando. And so we have more roots down here in St. Pete. So I can completely understand. I even told Lee and some other people that I forgot it was a holiday weekend too. So it's all good.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure, just like you said with the real estate market, I know, you're working 24/7, 365, and just like us over here, keeping the same pace, trying to keep up. How is the market over there, in St. Pete? I mean, I know we have our team of Haley and Antonio who are living actually downtown St. Pete and working out of there, and they've said it's been pretty crazy, but I just wanted to gather your thoughts on, where St. Pete was and where you see it going now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So just really quick, everybody, I was born and raised in St. Petersburg, Florida. So when I was a kid back in the 80s, it was not what it is today. But even a few years ago, it is not what it is today. It was actually still kind of a sleepy town for just visitors, pretty primarily. But as of right now, we are on the map like Miami. Miami still is on the map, but we're getting a lot more attention now just because we have a lot more new things going up, new condos going up. They do have down there as well, of course, in Orlando. But we were always known as like the retirement city. Yeah. So nobody really saw us as a bustling metropolis like we are now.
Yeah.
And it used to be when I was growing up as a kid. And then when my grandmother was first, my dad, like my late father, first moved to St. Pete back in the 70s, my grandmother and everybody in Tampa used to refer to St. Pete as the suburb of Tampa, is what they used to call it. So, but it's not that way anymore, for sure. So,
no, I mean, everything I remember about, I've lived here since, the early 90s. And, St. Pete was the only time we really went to St. Pete was to see somebody's relative, see somebody's grandmother, or we went to the Dolly Museum over there. And that was pretty much it. Nobody really went over there. But it's amazing to see in Ybor City, obviously as we got older. But yeah, I mean, last couple times I've been over there down by the waterfront, where the Dolly Museum is, and, that area area to see these condo high rises going up and to see how it's really, matured, and to see more businesses there now, and even going out, across the bridge over to Clearwater to see, it's like even some of those communities, especially waterfront, starting to get, really developed.
No, most definitely. And yeah, so I would say as far as our real estate market, I've actually, since I've been back, which is about almost 4 weeks now, actually been taking buyers out to leads that I've gotten that wanted to look at houses. And pretty much the same story as in Orlando. If there's a property on the market, the property's on the market for a day, and then they usually end up having about 8 offers in on the day one of listing the property. So there is a lot of competition here as well, primarily probably because of cash buyers, but also we still have limited inventory out there. So, yep.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing that. I'm seeing, obviously, the homes are being sold at, I'm seeing on an average, kind of where I live, from, even just like, 2018. I mean, some of the prices on some of the properties, I mean, my own property's gone up probably 75 to 100K. And from what I'm hearing is from a lot of the realtors we work with, and, yourself included, that even if, people are going, for, full price going to the table, there's competitors out there and counterbids that are coming in that are sometimes 25 50K like over ask, and it's crazy. And I've even seen it to where people are actually building houses. We've had a couple of clients out there in the St. Pete area in Clearwater who started projects and literally are like halfway through the build, and somebody comes up and walks and says, look, I will buy this, whatever you've put into this, I will pay that, whatever, I'll pay off all your mortgages, I just want the land and I will finish the build for you. And by, on top of that, I'll, kick in a couple $100,000 on top of that. So some of these builders are just kind of like, okay, I'll walk away from it, if I'm going to make this much money on it. So. No,
I completely agree. Like we talked about in pre-show, and I wanted to tell everybody, if you guys didn't catch the episode, I know you did, Mike, probably. Yeah. And I had the pleasure again for the second time the other day to speak to Mayor Jerry Demings, the Honorable Mayor Jerry Demings of Orange County, Florida. And we were just talking about the Orlando real estate and Orange County real estate in general, as well as transit options and their plans for the future. For instance, one thing I wanted to tell you, Mike, that he told me on the show was that they're looking at ways now, and we know this is the future because of the environment and the environmental impact with cars and stuff, but they were talking about things now to find ways to build housing in conjunction with your workspace, like your office space, so that people can either use rail transit or by foot or by bike or whatever it might be, or shorter distances to work is what I should say, with less commute times is what the mayor had told me.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing, everybody, the Sunrail, it's really interesting because when they started building that, on the old rail lines, and I think they did a really good job in Orange County and in Orlando, because it just goes right through the Advent Healthcare campus. It goes right through downtown Winter Park. It was great. But I think the planning, and I think it's on the Seminole County side, once it went over the county line, is where Seminole County was kind of like, where is this going? Because even like the closest one nearest me is kind of like off the beaten path a little bit. So not a lot of people use it unless, of course, they're living in Lake Mary and want to commute downtown Orlando or something like that. But it's like if, I would literally have to get a bike and, go another 5 miles to get to work. Even when it passes through Lake Mary, there wasn't a lot of really office type, locations up there. It's not like it was going, near the International Parkway up there in Lake Mary, where a ton, of people work out of those office buildings. So it's good to hear that, they're going to work on that because it would be great. I mean, growing up, a lot in Europe, I'd like to see some of the transportation that they have over in Europe and the ideas they have brought over here just for the convenience. More trains, more buses. Because over there, you can literally travel anywhere in Europe by, a bus or a train. And it's
right.
Transportation. You can get literally anywhere. And I'd like to see more of that. here in Florida, just like you would find in any other, metropolis, whether it's, New York or, Philadelphia or even like Washington, D.C. The last thing I want to see is, Orlando turn into more of like, an LA freeway. I'd like to see it go the opposite way, because every time I'm in LA, it's I don't appreciate sitting in traffic for 4 hours.
Oh yeah, no, I agree completely. I'm a big advocate on the way rail is in Europe, and I really wish the United States would adopt more of that transit options like we have over there in that country, because it's just crazy. I mean, I don't know where else you're going to continue to expand I-4. You would have to keep tearing things down to keep widening that road, especially in Orlando.
Yeah, the best thing I saw, which they did, was over the last 5-10 years, was expanding the 429 to go up to Apopka and Mount Dora. Because I mean, usually like from going up to Mount Dora from even my office here at Altamont Springs was 45 minutes to an hour, and like I recently did it, and it was like it cut 429 extension cut it down to about I think it was like 20 minutes, which was great. And I want to see more of that. Or around Orlando would be great. Just kind of connecting what they already have, to make, better traffic options. So that's good to hear.
No, definitely. Yeah. And on another note on that from the interview with Mayor Demings was that the Orange County, Florida, as far as tourism, not necessarily tourism, but growth is record breaking. And we did mention on the show together, he did mention to me, and I asked him this question, if anybody is a theme park enthusiast like we are, that Universal Epic theme park was actually announced that they restarted, and I confirmed that with Mayor Demings. He said that Universal Studios in general, has faith in Orange County right now because they see our numbers continuing to grow in terms of tourism as well as full-time residents here in Florida. So.
Yeah, and it's good to hear about the reemployment, because I was actually talking to a friend of mine the other day, good friend of mine, and her husband, who's one of the chefs at the resorts. I mean, he was let go for a time, but he just got hired back at his old job, and full benefits, more pay, and you're starting to hear some of those stories. You're starting to hear Disney bringing back people, which is good. So, and even local local service, whether it's entertainment, bar, restaurant. You're starting to see a lot of more people going out. You're starting to see a lot of the rehires, which I think is one of the most important things out there.
No, most definitely. So on that note, we're talking about employment, and I had the privilege of speaking to Proxy Financial the other day that you guys referred me over to. They're a great company. I got to talk to Brian and CJ over there. And speaking of which, so that was a good segue for this conversation. So I'm self-employed. You own a business. We're self-employed. We're entrepreneurs. So that's what we're going to talk about. What are your thoughts on what, like, for instance, real estate agents or anybody that's self-employed or anybody to prepare for the future in case we did come into this kind of pandemic again of some sorts, so that if you did lose your job, that you wouldn't be struggling or strapped for money to be able to survive through a situation like this?
I'm going to go back again to the period of 2006 and 2008. And I compare what's going on right now from my perspective, because, obviously we were around, real estate lending and everything else, title, back then as well, more on the mortgage side. But in 2006, everybody, I like to use the analogy as like everybody was living like, it was the, days before, Rome was going to burn down to the ground. I mean, people were just, money was flowing. Everybody was happy. Everybody thought that, this is the Garden of Eden here. I mean, and it's never going away. I mean, Rome's not going to burn. We're just going to continue getting fat and happy. Nothing can happen. And then I went to 2008 and I just saw so many people unemployed. I went around to mortgage lenders, offices that literally closed down overnight, title companies closed down, and it was a scary thing because nobody thought that would happen and nobody saw it coming. I kind of saw it coming for a while because I thought the regulation on the lending side was a little too liberal. I mean, literally, with those balloon notes and putting somebody who's got a $40,000 a year annual income into a 4,000 square foot house and then 2 investment properties at the same time. Yeah, I mean, it was insane. Could you see kind of the writing on the wall? Yes, but I also think everybody was still getting fat and happy, and I think people negated the fact that can go away at any time. And so I'm kind of looking at that now, and I don't think there's ever going to be in my lifetime another crisis like 2008. I think they put with DTI put in place, and I think there's too many restrictions. But I still think can the housing market take a dip? Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, with some of these forbearances coming due, I mean, there's still a lot of unemployed people out there, and with these stimulus packages and everything, the government, as we know, at some point they're going to want their money back. So I think even if the housing money dips, and from my recollection in 2008, the amount of realtors there were compared to the amount of realtors in the market right now, and I think it's a lot to do with how it's advertised. I mean, like everybody. I mean, we have 2008. I can't even remember a show that was on HGTV, and now you can turn on HGTV, and it's no matter which show you watch, it's kind of like you can flip houses, you can sell houses, anybody can do this. And in our industry, it's kind of, we go through stages like that where it's like anybody can run out and be an insurance agent or sell health and life insurance and make $1 million, and that happens in any industry. But what I'm still seeing a lot of that now, and I think there's so many people out there who have been doing this and are not well established. But I also see, from my perspective, I mean, there are a lot of people out there, going out and buying, G-Wagons and, Lambos and Ferraris and 5,000 square foot houses. Yes, that is still going on like it was in 2008. And I kind of look at it and I go, is anybody putting any money aside like right now? Who's planning for the future? What's the perpetuity plan here? What's going to happen? And that's I'm a big fan of that, of planning, obviously in the insurance. What's the risk versus the reward? I mean, everybody says you're never going to file a claim, or that's not going to happen to me, and I see houses burn down all the time. So I'd like to see more, especially independent contractors like yourself, Nick, because like if something happens to you and you're a business owner running a brokerage, who's going to step in to take your place? Right. I mean, like, what if you just became disabled? They say you step off the curb, get hit by a bus. Is there disability in place? Is there life insurance in place? Am I leaving behind money? Do I have money? So if I cannot work and operate, what is my plan? And I don't see a lot of people, and that's the other misconception too. And I was actually having this conversation with Proxy the other day, which was about everybody, and it's the younger generation too. I mean, people between the ages of 20 and 40, but it's just they from what they see on TV, it's like, well, I can watch MSNBC and learn how to be a stockbroker, or I can invest in penny stocks, or I can read all the information I need off of Facebook and I can be an investor. Well, it's not exactly true. And some of these guys who have been doing this, who especially works for Proxy, who, sat on Wall Street for, 10 or 15 years experiencing the ups and downs of the market, they can tell you for a fact that it is not easy. It is very complicated. So does a good advisor come into play is it worth it? And the other conversation we really got into was, and I'm sure they probably had this with you, Nick, is like, what is your time worth? In regards to whether it's personal time or whether it's work time. Yes, could you go out and do all this planning yourself and invest in stocks and mutual funds and all that? Yeah, it might take you a year or two to kind of figure out the system. Well, you got to look at it from this perspective. In your business, time is money. So if you've wasted all this time doing this yourself, Are you out selling houses? Are you out buying houses? Are you investing in your own business? And if you can put a monetary amount on that and say, well, I've wasted all this potential earnings. I could have been earning millions, but no, I'm learning how to put money away for a job that's not really mine. And then even on lifestyle, and I look back at, my own experience where my dad passed away, my mom had all these investments tied up. And eventually we got to a point of I was like, you should stop trying to figure this out for yourself and go hire a planner. And she was retired, but it came down to quality of life. And I sat down and had a conversation with her. And I just basically said, you can put a dollar amount on your quality of life. You want to spend the next 2 years trying to figure this out and do your own investment strategies and whatnot? Or do you want to go travel? Do you want to go to the world? Because you can put a dollar amount on that lifestyle. And I don't think I know a lot of people are very prideful about that. But again, I don't go out there, you don't go out there and pretend to be, the greatest insurance agent in the world. And I don't go out to pretend to be the best realtor in the world. So it's kind of like you got to pick and choose your battles. And I think that is the value of a very good investment firm, is where they can pick out and tell you that, you're losing money by not doing this.
No, I completely agree that you were talking about what your value of things in life are. They went through it. It was like a few pages, like a questionnaire that I went through it by myself before I had the meeting with them yesterday. But it makes you really think about what is important to you. And of course, CJ and Brian pulled it out of me saying, so are you the type of person that likes to go on vacation and travel? And I said, of course. And they asked me, why aren't you traveling? Well, even though I'm being conservative with my financials, they're like, well, they said that we can help you be able to travel, to be able to allocate your funds or your finances correctly, but you'll still have fun. And I said the reason I didn't want to go out and travel was because I was afraid, even though I had the financial saved up, I was afraid to spend money and pay my bills instead of traveling and not live my life. So I'm glad that I got to work with them yesterday and just going to the next step next week with them. So for sure.
Yeah, and I know we were talking about this in pre-show, and we've actually been working with Proxy since about 2019, and it's been a demand, by our clients over the years of because we're always being asked why doesn't Blanchard do this? Why doesn't Blanchard do that? Can you offer these products and services? And we've been thinking about it we actually came from the planning space pre-2006, and then we kind of because of the market, the way it was, we kind of just focused on what we do now, which is primarily property and casualty and homeowners insurance. But by popular demand, we've been asked, so we just didn't fly out overnight and say let's partner with this guy, or let's just open I'm going to buy an Edward Jones franchise or anything like that. So we've really been spending 2 years working and going back and talking with Proxy and testing different ideas. So we are going to be probably opening a Blanchard arm where we hire some advisors that are going to come and work out of our offices on staff. And we really see a need for it. Not only because on our side, on property and casualty, it's really about protecting your assets, so nothing happens where you get sued and all your money's thrown away in the garbage. But it'd be really good to also have that counter conversation of you do have these assets. Not only can we protect it, with insurance, but we can protect it with investments. We can protect it so you're going to have that money and help it grow over time. So that's really something that, we're focused on and excited to be partnering with them down the road. So, everybody should stay tuned, for that. It's just another kind of product and service we've always wanted to be offered. And I think it's coming to fruition where we're actually going to be able to offer that to some of our clients.
I don't know. I think that's awesome and we talked about this, and anybody listening, that I'm a plan to talk to Mike sometime next week, but seeing about kind of combining stuff with the brokers as well, to be able to have something in place so that consumers can go to one place and get all their services taken care of and not have to go, because it's when you go to buy or you sell, especially when you buy a house, or even selling to or investing, it's kind of stressful that you have to remember, you have to call the utilities. Obviously there's utility partners out there, but then you got to remember who you got to find insurance, because if you have a loan if you get a loan or something, like even if you don't get a loan, but if you get a loan, your lender says, well, you need to pick an insurance company that you see gets you the best quote and the best coverage. So there's that on your list. Then you have to remember about hiring movers. And I've been thinking about that idea too, Mike, like finding a moving company to partner with as well, so that they come to get everything under one roof if they choose to. Obviously, can't force them, but if they choose to, we have it all available for them to make it easier. And that way, we take away a lot of the complexities and stress of somebody moving out of their house or their condo or wherever it may be. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that actually brings up a good point. To actually, I'll explain this in two parts. Is like, you obviously have your own CRM, and I have my CRM for my industry, and our dashboards. And some of the conversations I've had with our provider, because I sit on one of their boards, is, we're always constantly discussing, like, I want to have a dashboard in front of me that has everything at the touch of a button. So if you like in yours, it's like, if I want to get an appraiser, I want to be able to go in my software and my app. I want it all in one place. I want to be able to click on a button. It gives me an appraiser, schedules it, signs it up. I want here for the title. I want here if repairs need to be made for the property. I want it all in one place. I want it just basically like a dashboard sitting in front of me. And that's, I think, with the technology side, I think we're getting there. And I'd like to see more technology like that. I don't want to, like, even on my own, my iPhone, I don't want to go to 50 apps anymore. I am so sick of doing that, and add-ons and in-app purchases and whatnot. I want it all in one place, because again, you go back to, what's my time worth, and is there a kind of place of value on that I'm not earning money from my business, or is it, I'm taking away from, my personal lifestyle, my recreation. And it gets to another point, and I know we've talked about this in the past, where I'm partnered actually in a wholesale coffee company out of Winter Park, but we're actually going to be launching a actual cafe concept. And one of the ideas, and probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but one of the ideas we were always discussing over the last 6 months was having a cafe concept where we did have a true concierge service, in like a flex workspace. So we're selling coffee, you can go there and work, everything is taken care of. But we were entertaining the idea of going what's the great thing about, going to a concierge at maybe a hotel like the Bellagio in Vegas? Well, I can get my dry cleaning there. I can get all these things. So we're talking about actually incorporating that. So while you're working, you can actually have somebody who's like, yes, I will go take care of your dry cleaning, pick it up. I will go to the grocery store for you. I will go fill up your car with gas, because that's the one thing I hate, and ashamedly, I hate at the end of the day where I'm like, I'm on my way home from work, or I got to go somewhere and I got to stop to fill up my tank of gas. And I was sitting there going I wish there was a service. Like, I had somebody in my office who's just like, I'm going to take your keys, go down and fill up your tank and come back. And we were just thinking of different ideas like that. And I think you will see a lot of businesses in the future start to combine that, so it is like a one-touch business. And I think you'll see that in a lot of real estate brokerages, insurance agencies, restaurants, concepts, and I think you'll see it in a lot of apps, because we've moved beyond, I think, having all these alternative solutions, because we're being overwhelmed. There are too many, but you got to think about, I got to go online later and order a water filter for my coffee business. And it's like, well, I'm going to go on Amazon. I'm going to do this. I'm going to search for a competitive price, when really all I want to do is click one button and have it done for me. And I think we're moving towards that, which is exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
I know, I completely agree. That gives me some ideas for our conversation next week, anyhow, about working together or whatever, or partnering, or whatever you want to call it, starting next week when we talk, because I think that's the way. Maybe even having a real estate agent in one of those workspaces to have somebody on hand in case they need to get things taken care of, like looking for properties, but they're busy during the day working, so they have to have somebody close by that can help them, So
yeah, absolutely. Awesome. It's getting to a point where it's about not only working smarter, but actually living smarter. And you're seeing, I'm sure your Facebook feed is, there where it's like everybody's doing self-improvement. I'm at the gym, I'm doing this, I'm eating healthy. But it also comes down to, I think the thing that everything's negating is like a lot of like, I think work-life balance can be more achieved with, better time management and, delegating and a lot of more outsourcing. But again, it's just going to be those efficiencies and cutting down to kind of like that one-touch culture.
No, I completely agree. And that was something that, like I said, Mayor Dimmings and I talked about the other day, was how to make, basically, like you're saying, to live and work smarter instead of working harder, and also putting less of a strain on the environment and the ecosystem that we live in. So I agree.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
All right, Mike. So we just got another minute or 30 seconds left. I just wanted to ask you your tip or positive information or positive motivation for the week and ahead. So, yeah, go ahead.
We're over a year out of COVID. Everybody survived. And the one thing I've seen is there's a lot of people. I think we're going to see mental health issues coming out of COVID, PTSD, stress from it, because everybody's just slammed. Like they're going right back, and workspaces are opening. Everybody's jumping right back into work. Everybody's, getting married again. Everybody's having kids again after COVID. And the trend I've been seeing is people are getting like stressed and like overwhelmed with themselves because they're trying to manage like all this, by themselves. My business reopened, so I got to go back to work. And I have my marriage now that was postponed. I'm getting married now. And now I didn't want to have a kid during COVID, and I'm having a kid, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I see a lot of people trying to pack that into like almost like a can of sardines. And I'm sitting there going like, well, really, you're packing gunpowder in there because nobody can tolerate that much stress. And these are like friends I see, and even myself to a degree. And I just tell everybody, like, you need to, we're not going to have I don't think we're going to have a pandemic like we had last year, probably ever again, but because now we're prepared for it. So it's like, spread these things out and take your time and don't, kill yourself over this. It's just stupid. Talk to people too, and get a different perspective. Like I'll go to a friend and talk and say, hey, because they're noticing it, and a lot of the time you're not really noticing how stressed you are. So it's good time. It's always good to just get somebody else's perspective, and maybe they can help you manage kind of like what's going on in your life and spread it out. Because the last thing you want to do is explode and make bad decisions. And I guess that's my sage advice for the week.
Awesome. Couldn't agree more. And thank you very much, Mike, for being on. And I'll see you next week. And thank you again for everything you do over there.
Sounds good, man. And have a great holiday weekend, man. Enjoy.
Sounds good. You too. Thank you. All right, everybody. This has been Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast coming to you live from downtown St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm Nicholas Acosta, your host and real estate broker with Downtown Expert Realty. You can visit us at downtown.expert. That's www.downtown.expert. Thank you again. Have a safe and fun weekend, and we'll see you around the city. And take care, everybody. All right? I'm out of here.
This has been Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast. Find Nick on Facebook and Instagram at downtown.expert, and also his website, www.downtown.expert, or call or text him at 407-508-8809. Thanks for listening.
Don't spend hours or days looking for your new home. Let a downtown Central Florida expert guide you. I'm Nicholas Acosta, and I'm here to welcome you home. Being a Florida native, I know how exciting, stylish, and convenient the downtown lifestyle can be. From the nightlife scene in the heart of downtown to the natural beauty of Florida. I'm Nicholas Acosta, and I'm here to welcome you home.